Hello everybody, welcome back once again to the Divinity walkthrough. We've got some dialogue with Zigzags here to get through, and then I will join you right after.
As the case may be, annoying you with hapless conjectures, until in the maze that is my mind, I happen to stumble upon a clue more concrete than mere theory. In the meantime, and in the interest of saving time, please tell me your thoughts about the lady you talked to in the Hall of Heroes during your previous visit. Deceive. Desert. Your words, they ring a distant bell, but they are but pieces of the puzzle. And yet, could she be? But no, hold your chattering tongue, Zigzags. You promised you wouldn't hazard any guesses, and you'll stick to your word. You have my thanks, friends, for indulging me. A new portal has opened, and no doubt you are as curious as I am to find out what lies beyond. Let's go and take a look. I wonder who awaits you in the next chamber. I wonder what they'll say.
This place looks rather cozy, doesn't it? It does. Almost like...
By the fangs of the void, it is true. She told me she had seen you. Yet never would I have believed her delusions until here, now. They manifest before me. You have become undeniable. The scurrilous sentinels themselves. It is miraculous, irrefutably so. But oh, how low you have fallen. Look at what you have become. What was stars have become moribund embers. You are to be pitied.
Okay, so we unlocked the... I forget that... I think this is considered or called the Inner Chamber? And that's your third Bloodstone unlock. Now, I obviously obtained that towards the end of the Sicile area. And so if you are not, you know, to that point yet, you won't get this. Obviously, again, like I said, it's the third Bloodstone that triggers the Inner Chamber to open. Zigzags there, I don't know that he really had much to say. And then the Trife here, my understanding is he is a bad dude. He's some sort of demon and might be, I don't know, the reason. I don't know if I want to say he's like the cause of the void issues. I don't know. He's a bad dude. That's my impression. But all right. So anyways, we're here in the inner chambers here, and then I think no, these aren't worth anything. Yeah, or at least they don't look like it. Okay, so I'm just gonna leave. I'm gonna leave all this crap here. There is a few things that we can grab, though, if I remember correctly. Maybe in some vases. Yeah, you get the vases here. So let's have a look inside. Spoon, useless. Sell it. Okay. Hunk of wool. Blank something scroll. An eye. Okay, that's random. It's really a weird place for an eye, as just, you know, in a vase. It's, I don't know. Is that weird to anyone else? Especially in the inner chambers of I don't know. So my impression was that these chambers here are actually the main characters' chambers. So that, I guess that's explained a little bit better when we speak to, I think it's the Weaver of Time after this. So I'll have a little look around here, explore what we can, and then here with this mirror, you can actually change how your character looks. And I think you can change both of the main characters, but But I don't think you can change like Medora or anything like that. Or any of the henchmen. So, I guess keep that in mind. A log. Nice. We'll definitely make something out of that.
This isn't
okay,
my
so here
chest.
it just says his
Which
chest.
somehow I knew.
This isn't my chest. Okay, so that was...
This chest. I know it to be mine. But how?
Morel. Alright, so Morel claims it's her chest, although it's labeled his chest, so... I guess more on that later. Okay. Damn these politicians, they infuriate me to no end. The war is almost won, victory certain. Diplomacy is the tool of the weak. Blind, they simply cannot see. They weren't there at the end. Okay. So I guess the dude wasn't a big fan of diplomacy, so that doesn't sound great. I mean, I get it. Frustration with politicians, man. I can definitely relate to that, but yeah, I don't necessarily think that diplomacy is a horrible thing. Okay. Where are we going here? I know there's some plants here in these flower pots, and I think I just forgot to click my right mouse button down so that I could see them. Okay, this is a very interesting, I think this is either a journal or a letter here. All of Rivellon thanks you, many have fallen, and I know you've suffered great personal loss as well. Let us be the meet in the Hall of Heroes, both to celebrate and remember. And then here it's signed the Henry, son of William, righteous king of Ferrell. So, obviously we met the Duke of Ferrell, and he doesn't seem like such a great person, so, I guess times have changed a little bit, or I guess I don't know technically what the relationship between, was that William that I said there? And the new Duke of Ferrell. You know, obviously a descendant of his. But yeah, a really well written letter, and you know, thanking the heroes for all that they had done. What did we get there? A stardust herb. Actually, maybe a couple stardust herbs. Let's check down here, see if I missed anything. No, looks good. I think we got her all. Okay, so the letter there gives you another log entry. So if you want to review the log, that's not a bad idea. It's pretty nice in case you get lost as far as the story goes. It's pretty easy to do in this game,
Old chest.
especially watching my videos because I mess around a lot. All right. We got another diary entry to read over here, and some more cupboards to loot. Okay, my fellow general, I understand your frustration. One that plagues me is of a different nature. All this attention. Citizen clergy, serve me. Long for the hills, the fields, quiet solitude of the wilds. Couldn't I simply leave it all behind? Okay, so it sounds to me, or my take on this is that these two generals were kind of frustrated at the end of whatever conflict it was that they fought in or were a part of. And then, you know, obviously the one of them is not wild about diplomacy, and all the politicians are annoying, and he just wants to be, or he enjoys the battlefield. Whereas the other one just kind of wants to be out and free and away from the hustle and bustle. So, kind of interesting, I guess. But all right, so that's the homestead, and we're going to have a little chat with the three folks here at the end of time.
Alas, no. I can predict with a degree of certainty, but I cannot speak of what is to come unequivocally. Time and I are one, but we must both run our course before reaching reality.
I hope your quest fares well, dear hunter.
How might I serve our mission? Threads I weave and tales I see, all will I tell. He is the instigator. He is the beginning of all ends, the birth father of death and void. Be wary of him. I know not what is fear, and yet, before him, I tremble. Can the answer be anything but you? The threads say that you slept there, you both did, until the vigil of day and vigil of night called you away. Duty. Never did you waver from your duty, never? I cannot be certain. Perhaps, just once, you failed.
Good to see, most certainly. So you have the inner chamber. The tapestry has shown me that these were the personal quarters of the gods chosen two. They lived lives of opulent luxury, a well-deserved return for services rendered against the onslaught of demons and dark champions of the void. They are yours now, the chosen two anew.
Okay, so to summarize, the Trife is the father of the void, so seems to me like a pretty, or another way of saying the bad guy.
From their grimy flesh. Silver Glen. This place sickens me. I can tell you if you wish, but you'd have to listen to the tale of my life. Because my future, such as it is rooted deeply into my history. So I shall. Once upon a time, I was a king in a land of beauty to the east. A land of tigers and slender towers, of deserts and forests, of sun and all the world's wealth. I was a young king, handsome and all-powerful. Every nobleman would have killed his own brother if I promised to take his daughter's hand in marriage. But I refused their incessant implorations. I knew my life as a sovereign would be self-indulgent, but also a self-delusory one, if I weren't to marry for love. And so a handful of years went by. The king's throne I myself occupied, whereas the queen's throne remained empty but for the court's cats that would nap the afternoons away upon its velvet cushions. But then one day, a young woman visited my kingdom. She was a poetess and a storyteller. People flocked to her, listened to her every word as if receiving mantras from the divines. I invited her to my palace, and soon our days, our nights, our love and our lives intertwined. Hiraka. How I miss her still. Miss the brilliance of her mind that was both as sparkling and as unbreakable as the diamonds that adorned her body. Oh, and how I miss her body. 1,000 artists I could have commanded, show me beauty. But she would have effortlessly surpassed their every endeavor, and curving her lips into a smile make them break their sculptures in tearful impotence. And yet, true happiness, that commodity more precious and even more fleeting than the dominion of kings, sang to us like the nightingale, only to depart come the dawn of our first year's unity. A malady overtook me, and I began to wither. It was an unparalleled horror. Scores of physicians flocked to my bedside. They traveled from realms across the seas hoping to cure the mighty Jehan, undo the gloom that had befallen the land, and mere vultures that they were, to be paid handsomely for their efforts. But none of their potions took effect. Their salves seared, but did not soothe my fading flesh. Like a ghoul I looked, unburied yet risen from the grave. In futile anger I struck my mirror, but broke my brittle fingers only, not its ever-mocking surface. It went like this, Hunter. If a ghoul I had become, so a dark turn of thought convinced me, a ghoul's methods I should employ to escape the labyrinthian crypt of corporeal corruption. A necromancer I'd be. Yes, only from deep within the deliriums of death would I tunnel my way back into the gardens of life. I did unspeakable things in the dusky dungeons that twist like forgotten veins to long-deceased organs far beneath my castle's sunlit halls. Halls which held my throne and held the bed upon which Heraka slept, her very touch blessing the satin she reposed upon. Still there came no relief. Perversions I created in scores, but they were mere undead all. Creatures so piteous that the thought of cheating death in their guise frightened me more than the swing of the scythe itself. Like mosquitoes in the night, panic and despair beset me until I turned to that darkest of all arts, demonology. It had to be. There was no other way. I could feel the life slipping out of me like love out of a betrayed spouse's heart. So I studied tomes so old the dust that fell from their centuries' unperused pages never knew the light of the stars that now shine. I drew forbidden symbols. I spoke unhallowed words, and from the smoke that rose like a dragon's last breath, a demon appeared to me and said, "Ask, O blighted king, and you shall have." "Just tell me," I cried. "Tell me what ails me." Heraka. Never had I known a single word can cut deeper than the sharpest of daggers. With maddening glee, the demon told me she was one of his kin. A soul-swallowing horror that had been feeding on both my body and my spirit like a leech. An ancient being was she, that moved from king to king throughout the ages, filling their hearts with love, then draining them of life. After such revelations, does one truly desire to live on? Death seemed like a mother then, welcoming me with her all will be well embrace. Yet still I feared exceedingly her seemingly sweet caress, and the oblivion that would follow. Release me from her, demon, and give me back the strength of a sick, free existence. So went my desperate plea. It smiled, of course it did. Smiled bare 100 razors as its eyes came alight with infernal fire. 1,000 years I will give you, it whispered. But then your soul shall be mine to incarcerate in the depths of hellish nemesis. As for your throne, that I'll have now. What say you, O brittle king? Do you accept my terms? I think you know the answer to that question, Hunter. But I've said enough for now. These memories are painful to recollect, so let us turn to the rest of them later. Yes, let's get this over with. Only fools believe. Wise creatures know. Yes, I shall rejoin you, for you've much to learn yet.
Well, well, well. So our very own demon hunter once dabbled in the so-called darkest of arts himself. A man so utterly betrayed and dying will grasp at any straw. I can hardly blame him. Neither can I. Clearly his great love was almost the very death of him. She broke his heart in more ways than one, and I too would go to any lengths to repair it.
Okay, so, after the dialogue there with Jahan, you've got a choice to make, and that's, either blunt or considerate. I'm going with blunt in order to be, or to be immune to charm, which I just think that that's way better than the +1 charisma. That's just going to do a lot more for you in combat than charisma does. For you in the, the random, it's really only to deal with the random game there with the rock, paper, scissors. So, again, I am going to go with blunt and try to stick with those choices from here on out. But boy, Jahan's story there, that is a doozy. So, fell in love with a woman that apparently was a demon or something like that. Or at least that was my understanding, and it was making him sick, and eventually had to like turn to the dark arts to stay alive. So pretty crazy stuff. Not something that I expected for sure the first time I ever played the game. So very, very interesting indeed. A really cool story to him, I would say. And boy, what a predicament. He finds out after, years of being a king and kind of not being impressed, or not wanting to, or not, I guess, not finding someone that he cared enough about, and then boom, the one he does find is a demon. Womp womp. So, kind of got a feel for the guy. That's a tough break. And then on top of that, he made a deal with the demon to live for 1,000 years. At least that was my assumption. All right. Anyway, so we're here in Silver Glen, and I'm gonna loot this joint before. There's a couple of people that will end up here in the blacksmith room, and I wanted to loot everything before they arrived. So. Yeah, we'll just we'll head down here. This is Nadia's cellar. I don't remember if there was, actually I don't think there's really anything useful down here. I don't know. Yeah, there's just kind of junk, random stuff. Guess there's like a bow here on the table, so that'll be worth something. Ooh, and a vintage claymore. I'm not sure, but I think that claymore. Ooh, there's a couple of spell books though. That was nice. Shadow Step. Oh, that's a shame. Alright, so I don't think either of those books are going to be useful to me, so I may just end up selling them, but that's okay. And I'm sure those are random, so I may have gotten some crummy ones, but there's a chance that you could get something decent. So anyways, alright, so where are we going to head to next? I hope not too much farther here, because I really want to get back to Cyseal. The reason, again, that I did all this was to unlock some more vendors, so it would be more likely for me to get a hold of some crafting materials. Boy, lost my train of thought. I'm going to cut this stuff out, though. I did mess around with trying to get another vendor over here, but it's not doable right now.
To be more precise.
So I'm just going to cut this stuff out for the time being. Okay, so I wanted to show you guys this. This is kind of a interesting thing, and I would say, I don't know. It probably wasn't like it was going to make or break me. But so anyway, what I did here was I invised up. And I ran a little bit, so this is the west side of Silver Glen, and there's an NPC that comes running through here, and if you're invisible, so here's the thing, if you walk to a certain point, it's probably like right around here, it triggers an NPC to come running through the area, and if you're invisible, you won't actually trigger the conversation with him, so he just runs right by me. Look at him go. Zoom! And then he starts a battle there. And I think that may have been because I think I grabbed the mushroom on the ground over there. So, picking up the mushroom makes these enemies appear. So it was just this weird combination of circumstances that actually, unfortunately, resulted in me missing the conversation with this NPC. So, again, I would say be careful, especially with your invisible, I guess it's walk in shadows, or that's the one I was using. There is an invisibility spell though too, which is
I need to speed things up
for your casters. But anyway, so yeah, like I said, just be careful with or when you use that, you can kind of trigger weird things to happen like this. And again, unfortunately I did finish out this battle and I won. And this guy, and I forget his name, but he just kept running, so I missed the dialogue with him. So I ended up redoing it all. And so I just wanted to show you guys this quick little, I don't know, kind of interesting thing that happened to me. Alright, so being that I'm almost at the half-an-hour mark, I'm going to cut it here, and then we'll just pick this video up basically right here, and right at, I guess, me actually doing this battle and kind of doing this series of events in kind of the way that I actually did it. So, as always, hope the guide was helpful, hope you join me for more videos, and thanks for watching.